Hi, my name is Debra Meehl, and I'm asked two things. One is, what do I know for sure? And the other is, how did we start the foundation and start doing what we do now as a profession? What I say for that first part is, what do I know for sure, is that God is always ahead of you. He's ahead of you multiple steps, not just a few steps, and He's pulling you towards your life plan and towards your purpose of what it is that you're supposed to do. The second part of that question is, how did we start doing this? What happened is 15 years ago when I married Mark, 18 months into our wedding, into our marriage, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. And what happened at that moment was a variety of events that led us to where we're at now. But on the short note of that, Mark was able to, after he was diagnosed, to actually write our articles of incorporation, and we were actually able to start the foundation. We started it because I had gone to a lot of groups that I talk about had a lot of hand-wringing and a lot of crying, and I'm not a hand-wringer and I'm not much of a crier, and so we needed to help people be able to form a plan to be able to go forward in their life and to be able to transform their life with their particular illness, whatever it was. And at the time for Mark, it was bipolar disorder with 7 out of the 9 features for borderline personality disorder. So we had our work cut out for us. As we got involved with doing this particular work for the foundation, we went to a mental health retreat that was in Texas, and we found when we put our house plans up on the wall that several people came to us and actually talked to us about moving into their particular area. On the very last day, a woman came up to us and said, please look at the Lake Jackson area, which is an hour south of Houston, before you leave, and we agreed to do that. When we got to Lake Jackson, it's absolutely beautiful here. It has beautiful big oak trees that are hundreds of years old, and I looked at Mark and I said, this is it, this is where we're supposed to be. A few weeks later, we actually came back, we bought a piece of property, and we found a remarkable builder that actually built our house for us. And in the process of doing all that, it was announced to the community that we were going to be a residential group home, and we were going to open our home to people with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. And 22 of our neighbors actually sued us with an injunction to stop. And what the injunction, what the emails were that I received was they wanted to know how we were going to protect the community from the bipolars, and how we were going to protect the old people and the children. It didn't matter that Mark had raised children and very successfully and had been a successful businessman. None of that mattered to them at all. They were convinced that our home would somehow, again, harm the community in some way. It took us 3 years to get through the court system, and we were finally able to open our home to be able to do what it is that we're doing. So I want to back up now a little bit and tell you a little more about that. When we were in Arizona and Mark had been diagnosed, he initially wasn't diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He was diagnosed with something else. It doesn't actually matter what. And he wasn't on the right medication, and so he got worse and worse and worse, and our life became more and more chaotic. So, as anyone can imagine, living with somebody who has hypomania and depression one day, hypomania the next day, and is doing a rapid cycling, it was a very chaotic existence for us, and I needed to figure out how to be in a more peaceful place. So as I started doing a lot of research in regards to what might work, I came across dialectical behavioral therapy. Now, I'd been trained as a paramedic. I'd been a paramedic for 10 years, and I'd actually taught psychological emergencies and crisis intervention, which did me a small amount of good, but not a lot, in regards to being able to help him and help our family and try to figure out, what we were going to need to do next to be able to get forward in our life. So As I was doing a bunch of research, I came across dialectical behavioral therapy, and DBT has 4 components. It has a mindfulness component. It actually teaches you how to actually engage in mindfulness and awareness. It's not meditation. It actually teaches you how to, again, what Scripture says, to be captive of your own thoughts. Romans 12:1 and 2 says that by the transforming and renewing of your mind, you will know the perfect will of God. And what it does do is it teaches you to be captive of your thoughts so that you can observe your own thinking and you can stop your negative thinking, and you can actually learn to be in the positive. You can actually learn to have a peaceful existence. You can actually learn what actual serenity is. So as I started to delve into dialectical behavioral therapy, I realized that I was going to need life transformation also. And so what had served me for 10 years, being a paramedic, no longer served me anymore. And so I took the necessary steps and courses that I needed to do to become a certified pastoral counselor, and I have a doctorate in divinity. As I was doing that transformation and adding DBT to my skills, the second component to DBT was emotional regulation. And there are a set of life skills that I was never taught as a child, and quite frankly, most people aren't taught as a child to actually learn to regulate your own emotions. As you learn to regulate your emotions, obviously you become more and more peaceful. And then the next step was distress tolerance skills. What happens when things don't go your way? What happens when your house burns down? What happens if there's a death in the family? What happens if you lose a child? What happens when you have a life partner, an actual soulmate that has a devastating illness? How is it that you're going to manage that every day? And then the last step for DBT is interpersonal relationship skills. How do you say what it is that you need to say? Be completely authentic in your life. Be authentic with the people that you're around. Be authentic with your clients. Be authentic with your family. And quite frankly, be authentic with yourself. So DBT was an amazing skill set, I thought, that could actually help people with, again, emotional regulation issues. So for me, it just seemed to make sense that we would open our home. We would surround ourselves with a team of trained individuals, and we were all trained by Behavioral Tech in Seattle, Washington. We would surround ourselves with trained individuals that were intensively trained to actually teach our clients dialectical behavioral skills so that they could get on with their lives, go back to their families, go back to their communities, and again, have their own lives be transformed as our lives were transformed. When I tell you that God pulls you forward, what I want you to know is that I had absolutely no idea whatsoever what my life was going to look like. I can tell you I was very happy being a paramedic. I'd actually taught at the local community college where we had an amazing success rate, and I was very comfortable in doing what it was that I did. I learned early on that we resuscitate clients, we don't resurrect clients. I was very focused and very dedicated, very driven in what I knew, which was a little bit about emergency medicine, but I had a passion for it that I never thought I was going to be anything other than that in my life. And so when Mark came into my life and our whole life was kind of blown up, I had a real point of awakening to realize that my life was going to look remarkably different going forward. When I tell you that on a soul level, I know that Mark is my soulmate, having that being said, that doesn't necessarily make it peaches and cream. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to be remarkably easy. Learning a set of skills to be able to help somebody else and be able to help yourself is what I think that it's all about. Life transformation is incredibly doable. It's not what I would call hard work. It can be inconvenient when you've been brought up a certain way to believe certain things. I tell all of my clients that beliefs come and go. You can believe that the moon's made out of green cheese, but that doesn't make it so. Facts and are, again, what we hope to live our life by. So as I went forward in figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, there was some amazing transformations for me also. Mark and I at one point had a big argument about something that, you know, was absolutely trivial. It made no sense whatsoever. And I had told God that I was done with the relationship. I couldn't take anymore. And you know, he better have a way out. When I finally got to that place of surrender in my life, I want you to know that 2 weeks later is when Mark was actually diagnosed with bipolar disorder and actually was finally placed on the correct medication. Now, there were subsequent medications that went along with that, but he was initially stabilized. And the funny, intelligent, creative, sensual, amazing human being that I had married started to shine through again. So life transformation is possible with the right skills and the right tools, and that's what I believe at the very core of my being. I believe that when you get those tools and skills, it's kind of like you insert a key into your own soul and it actually opens up. It opens up for yourself, it opens up for your community, it opens up for your family, and quite frankly, that universal vibration opens out to the rest of the world. We have a new book that's coming out. It's going to be a life transformation book. I'm not real sure exactly what the title is going to be yet, but I'm going to keep you all posted. We're also in the spring of 2017. We're going to do some weekend retreats in regards to life transformation. You're going to learn about nutrition. You're going to learn about dialectical behavioral therapy. You're going to learn certain skills in regards to some spirituality techniques that actually help open your soul, that actually help make you ready to receive the abundant blessings of the universe. And one of the things that I want you to know is that all of my staff here provide life coaching, as well as the clients that we take here at the Meehl Foundation. We also provide life coaching for transformation. So if you're interested in that, you can click on whatever link there is above here and get in contact with us. We're going to make that easier. Right now the website doesn't have a real easy way to do that, but we're going to make that easier and easier for you. So we have the book, we have the weekend retreats, and we have life coaching. I want you to know to this date, Mark and I have been incredibly blessed. I have not taken a wage for the foundation since we actually opened the foundation. Unlike a lot of foundations where there's a lot of family money that's dumped into the foundation, that's not the way that we've ran this particular foundation. But I have not had to take a wage, but I do charge for life coaching, as does the rest of my staff. So again, just to give you kind of an idea about the man that I'm married to, I want you to know that he doesn't know this part. When I talk, he always knows in advance what I'm going to talk about. But I received this card from him 3 days ago, and this is September of 2016. So I'm going to tell you what it says. It says, "My love, when you kiss me, I know what true love feels like. When you whisper in my ear, your words melt my heart. When you hold me, I want time to stand still. Everything you do makes me fall in love with you more." Mark. So that's how you know that you're in the right space with your partner and your life and your family, is that things like that are brought to you again and again and again. Thanks so much for sharing this moment with me.